So who knows what this is? Anybody? It's not a plastic bottle. Who said plastic bottle? Take a look. Take a closer look. Somebody. Pass it around. It used to be a plastic bottle in a previous life, but now this has been turned into an eco-brick. It's been reincarnated as a building block for schools. And I'm going to tell you over the next 15 minutes a little bit about how communities across Guatemala are using eco-bricks or ecoladrillos to build their schools, which we call bottle schools. But first, let me tell you a little bit about how I got here, what I'm doing in Guatemala. I was born in England. I studied at the University of Oxford, and throughout my 20s, I was going from job to job, trying to find the right job for me, the right box to fit into, but I didn't find it, and I thought to myself, well, who wants to be in a box anyway? And I wasn't fulfilled, and so at the age of 27, I put on my backpack and got a one-way ticket to Latin America, and started traveling. And I saw a lot of beautiful, wonderful things while traveling in Latin America, but I saw some things that made me sad as well. And sorry. Thank you. One of the things I saw that made me sad was trash, mostly plastic, all over the place, and it made me very sad. Another thing that made me sad was this clicker. But also kids going to school in buildings like this. And these kids are actually fortunate that they have a school to go to, even though it's made out of corn stalks and metal. There's a lot of kids in the world I found that don't have schools to go to at all. And that made me very sad. It made me furious, in fact, because I was always taught as a kid by my parents, if you work hard at school, you can do anything you want, you can be anything you want to in the world. And these kids don't even have that opportunity. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights says that everyone has a right to education, but yet 120 million kids across the world don't go to school. And 70% of kids in Guatemala will never finish 6th grade. That made me furious. It still makes me furious. And while traveling, I ended up in Cuba. And in Cuba, I was showing some fellow Europeans around the beautiful town of Santiago, and I was approached by a guy, and I think he was much more attracted to the 8 beautiful blondes from Scandinavia that I was showing around than to me, but the two of us got talking, and he was wearing a shirt like this that said, "Hug it forward." And I asked him what that was, and he told me how he'd quit his successful career in real estate to go travel around the world and bring the world closer together and make a difference in the world. And that resonated with me. Nothing happened with any of the blonde girls, but Zach and I became good friends. And we realized we shared a philosophy, and we shared in particular a strong belief in the power of education. It's something that we'd been brought up with, the strong belief in the power of education. And then by chance, or if there's such a thing as chance or fortune, connected us with a Peace Corps volunteer in Guatemala who was building a school with the community of Granados using those eco-bricks, ecoladrillos. Is it still going around somewhere? Yeah, building a school with ecoladrillos, and we didn't quite understand how this was possible to build a school out of plastic bottles, but we thought it sounded like fun, so we traveled down to Guatemala, a group of us, and wanted to help the community of Granados with their school. And what we saw when we came there was kids like him building the school with their own hands. And it takes a lot of time to make one of those eco-bricks. It takes an hour to stuff all the trash into there to make it solid like a brick. You can fit up to 100 chip packets in there, and like I say, it takes an hour, so I'm going to need that one back but after this talk. But kids like this, they're building the school with their own hands. How it works is that 6,000 of these ecobricks it takes to build a 2-classroom school like the school we built in Granados. And it has the regular foundations of a school. It has a frame. But instead of putting bricks or blocks in the walls, you have these ecobricks stacked in between chicken wire and cement put on top of that. So it's very secure, it's very strong, and it's participatory. All these kids, you see, they worked harder than us gringos, for sure. And they built their school with their own hands. They'll be able to say something that no child in my country is ever going to be able to say, is that they built their school. They built their school. And not just the kids, but all the parents in the community collaborated. They cleaned their neighborhood of trash. They used that trash to build a school. They volunteered their time after working all day in the fields. They volunteered their time to build that school because it was the benefit of the community. They came together as one to create something that benefits them all, and that's the power of community. And at one point, we even ran out of trash in Granados. That's how successful the cleanup operation was. And neighboring villages came together. They contributed. They cleaned up their trash, and they brought their trash to Granados and helped these kids and these adults build their bottle school. It was a really beautiful thing to see. And so the school was completed successful at the end of 3 weeks. And we learned so much in those 3 weeks. We were transformed as people by seeing the experience, seeing what can become of trash. Number one is seeing what can become when community comes together, and it made us think that these people are so proud to be able to give their kids the chance of an education, and it made us think that we in the West we take education for granted, and education is such a powerful tool for changing the world, as I hope you all agree. And we came to Guatemala. We came to Guatemala thinking we were going to help the poor people. We saw that through our experiences that people in developing countries don't need help. I mean, they know a lot about how to solve their own problems, and their cultures are so rich and powerful in so many ways. We came thinking that we were going to help the poor people. We left Guatemala realizing that we are the poor people. All the material possessions that we take for granted in our societies, none of that can buy the love, the family, the community that you find in communities like Granados, communities all across Latin America. And by comparison, our rich societies are disconnected, lonely, and sad. And then we thought, we can systemize this. We can systemize this. None of us were from a background of construction, of development work, of nonprofits, but we saw this good idea, we fell in love with it, and we wanted to help it spread. And fortunately, we were connected with a Peace Corps volunteer, another one called Chris Barry, who up in Alta Verapaz, with whom we worked to build another bottle school with the community of Sepalau. And then Chris joined our team, the Hug It Forward team, as a volunteer, a full-time volunteer. And we're all volunteers in Hug It Forward. None of us has ever been paid a salary. And over the course of the next year or so, Chris helped communities and volunteers build 12 further bottle schools. Fast forward to where we are today. Sorry. And this is the school in Panicuy, in San Martin Jilotepeque, in Chimaltenango, which was inaugurated just 4 days ago. March 20th, 2012, this school was inaugurated. It's our 16th bottle school. Thank you. You can see there next to the doors, it has little windows cut out so you can see the bottles, because if it wasn't for that, you would not even know that this school was made out of bottles. And it's an average cost of just $5,000 per classroom for these schools. This was the 16th school. We have our 17th school about to finish construction. That's in El Salvador, the first bottle school like this outside of Guatemala. We have the 18th school, also in San Martin, halfway through, and we have schools 19, 20, and 21 beginning construction in the next 30 days. And I just want to say thank you to all those who have inspired us along this journey, because we didn't come up with this idea. We've learned so much along this journey. Thank you to everybody who taught us about upcycling, who taught us about building with bottles, who taught us about nonprofits and development work. Thank you to our mentors, our advisors. Thank you to our parents for all your support. Thank you to the volunteers who led these projects. Thank you to the donors who made it possible. And above all, thank you to the communities. Thank you to the communities, because we don't build the bottle schools. The communities do. We're just the facilitators. Communities have the resources. Communities have the skills. They have the determination. They have the ability if we can just help them with some of the tools. And that was the big lesson, the biggest lesson that we got out of this whole thing. And I mean, our vision is for schools across communities across the world to be able to build their own bottle school, and how we wanted, and our model of doing this, we call it building schools by Skype. And what we mean by that is giving communities the tools and being there at the end of a phone call if and when they need the support. And we've created this bottle school manual. We call it's an open source wiki, which is a step-by-step guide to building a bottle school. And people can take it and adapt it. It's a wiki, and people have done. And we believe that this way of doing things is going to be much more efficient and scalable than flying around the world to build schools. And within a couple of months of this bottle school manual being released online, a Peace Corps volunteer in El Salvador had found it and has started to build a school with her community in Los Puentecitos in Ahuachapan. And here they are, the kids there. And you'll see they have bigger bottles. They don't have these 20-ounce bottles. They have 44-ounce bottles there. So they adapted the technology from the original blueprints to suit their local circumstances. People are smart, you know. People, aren't they? And I mean, other communities have adapted technology to make use of local building materials like palm. People have adapted the technology because they have different soils and need different foundations. And that's the beauty of open source. So our vision is to more communities to build bottle schools, but our vision is also beyond bottle schools. We're working with a foundation called FUNCEPA here in Guatemala to put computers into our bottle schools. Once kids have access to computers, they have access to all this information in the world, and they can take that and do whatever they want with it. I think that's going to be really cool. And beyond that, what if we can connect classrooms in Guatemala to other classrooms around the world to create this global community on top of the local community? What if we can use bottle schools as a platform for other issues that communities need? What if we can use bottle schools as a platform for nutrition? What if we can use bottle schools as a platform for economic opportunity, harnessing the power of microfinance, harnessing the power of social entrepreneurship? These are all part of our vision. And what if we can create a global community where it's not just bottle schools, but any ideas that people have to help the world, to create a social network where people can come together to share those ideas, to connect people who want to help people, to match people with projects, with ideas, with resources. That's part of our vision of collaboration, of making the world a better place. And I dream of a world where there's no more trash. I dream of a world where my children, if I ever have children, mum and dad, don't get too excited. I dream of a world where my children will not even be able to grasp the concept of throwing something away. Because there's no such place as a way. It all goes somewhere. It all goes somewhere. And I know that we as a species, we're smart enough. We're smart enough that we can stop throwing stuff away. We can create packaging that biodegrades. We can create all products with their entire life cycle in mind, from cradle to cradle. We can do it. I know it. And that's the world I dream of. Because our mission with bottle schools, with Hug It Forward, is 50% about the bottle schools. And it's 50% about the message behind the bottle schools. By which I mean it's 50% the tangible, the buildings, the education that comes from that, and it's 50% the intangible. It's the message, it's the community, it's the collaboration, it's the global unity, it's the awareness, it's the consciousness. And we were very fortunate to have partnered with a conscious business that helped to fund a number of these bottle schools. And we wanted the CEO of the business to come down to Guatemala and see with his own eyes some of where those donations were going, to have a direct experience with his donation. And through seeing through his eyes, him having the same experience that we had when we first came to Guatemala, the awakening, the realizations, realizing the beauty of community, realizing how fortunate we are in some ways in our developed societies and how unfortunate in other ways. We realized that this is an experience that everybody can have, or everybody should have, whether it's through volunteerism trips or something else, to make the world a smaller place, to take the best bits of the two worlds. And we don't romanticize developing countries, we don't romanticize developed countries. We see that there are beautiful elements of all the different cultures, the material abundance and the opportunity we have in the West, and on the other hand, the connectedness, the family, the community that we see in Guatemala. We want to bridge the gap between those cultures and take the best of both and make a better world for all of us by taking the best of everything and collaborating. And it's a beautiful time for us to be doing this because we live in a beautiful time, don't you think? No? It's a beautiful time to be alive because there's so many wonderful examples of collaboration all around us. All around us. I mean, look at Wikipedia, look at couchsurfing, look at crowdsourcing, look at Burning Man, look at open source software, look at TED. I mean, isn't it awesome that in cities around the world there are events like this where people are coming together to share ideas worth spreading? People are coming together to share ideas and develop ideas and collaborate. People are coming together thinking, not what's in it for me, but what can I do to help? That's the change we're seeing in the world. The change we're seeing in the world is a move to rediscover community, a move to more collaboration. It's a beautiful time, and I love TED. I love TED. And I love you all for being here. I mean, thank you for being part of the change. It's a wonderful time we live in. I mean, people say that 2012 is an end of sorts, but in that end is a new beginning. It's the end of the era of me, and it's the beginning of the era of we. It's the end of the era of the 1% and the 99%. It's the beginning of the era of the 100%. So let's come together, let's collaborate, let's connect, let's co-create, let's rediscover the power of community, and let's make a better world.